Guys, welcome back to the channel. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. So the other day I was at work like I normally do every day. I checked my emails and came across a dreaded email that the company I work for is going to do layoffs. Now, the thing about it is they had just done 2 layoffs. So this is the third round of layoffs in 4 months. The first layoffs were hourly employees. And once that took place, I think it lasted for about a month. And then the second round was salaried employees. And they were making 2,000 cuts. So, of course, the first thing that comes to your mind is probably worry or something like that. And then when we get the third round, this time they were saying that this was going to be affecting every branch and every employee will be looked at. So naturally, when something like that happens, if you're new to the workforce and you've been working within the last decade, then the economy has been great. It was something that, I've been through this once before in a company I worked for, but I wasn't really on the chopping block like I was this time. So it didn't affect me I didn't really think about it. Plus I was younger, so I didn't think much about it. But this is something that, you don't really expect to happen in a company. We actually had our best year since the history of the company. And then towards the end, it's like all of this started happening. So, naturally, all the employees would talk amongst themselves. And as I started to talk to people, I noticed that everybody was different in a way. A lot of people had fear. They feared that they might be the one that's going to be laid off. They feared, what are they going to do? It was just an emotion that I saw quite a bit. Some of the people I talked to were angry. They were angry at the company. Sometimes I think where is that anger actually being directed? They were angry or upset, and those are natural reactions. You get angry, you get upset, you get fearful. Some people were worried, and of course I was too. I mean, it's the third time, and you got to think like, okay, the company has been doing really well, and why are these things happening? And then I got to thinking back. The last time they did this was a couple years ago, and I was sitting in the office with the general manager at the time, and it was an issue with one of the employees. They weren't being, they were a little upset about the way things were going and stuff. And he was like, he was telling me that actually right now the company can't do anything because they're about to go into a slow time. And he started telling me about what a company does when they forecast and things start happening, economy starts changing and things like that, that what a company will do is they have what's called the rings of defense. And I'm no expert at this, and this may not quite reflect what he was telling me because I don't fully remember it all at the time. But basically, when a company starts getting into a area where they start seeing things, the economy changing, and they want to prepare for the future, they have what's called the rings of defense. And what that is those rings of defense, the closer it comes to the core, the more and more you got to do. So like on this outer ring, it can be like cut spending. So the company will stop, like in our case, we had the medical kits that had, it had more than the essentials. I mean, it had like the over-the-counter ibuprofen, things like that. So they started to cut spending to where, now they only have what's actually needed. and then they would cut spending in other areas depending on, wherever they look at and they see where they can cut expenses to start to reduce costs. So that was kind of like the outer ring of the fence. The next ring in, they would like cut out overtime. So if overtime was being used quite a bit, they would have the supervisors, managers make sure that they paid attention to that and cut out overtime where necessary. And by the way, I wasn't actually shown a chart like this. This is my interpretation of what he was verbally telling me to help visualize what the ring of defenses are. And then that next ring of defense could be layoffs. And, companies do not like to get to that point, but by building a structure and by understanding business and by, getting to that point, you think of like, winter is coming. So you'll chop wood, you'll prepare, bears will eat to hibernate. It's things like that. You know what's coming. You can understand business. You understand the economy. Then you know what you have to do in order to keep that business growing strong. So the point of this is, if you're working and like I said earlier, if you're new to the workforce within the last decade, the economy has been on just a natural incline. It's almost been a staircase straight up. And that's just not the way that it can't sustain that forever. So one thing that, it isn't taught, if parents don't know, they don't teach their kids. But when you start to work, if you have a family or if you're single, then you should take this model and apply it to your family or to yourself. While times are good, that shouldn't be the time where you're spending and, just going out and buying things and just having a good time. That should be the time where you're saving. You can apply this ring of defense to your family or yourself if you're single. And I mean, if you're gonna be working for a company, and that company, I've said, if you watch my previous videos, I've always said that your family is your business. So if you're going to be working for a company who has this ring of defense in place, then you should be on an equal or even playing field, and you should have a ring of defense around your family or yourself. So let's look at this. So let's say like this, we'll go from the inner out. This inner circle should be savings, or like what some people call emergency fund. So, build this ring of defense around yourself so that when something like this happens in a company, you don't have those worries, fears, and all of those emotions that come. You may have the angry and you may have frustrated, but at least know that you have this ring of defense and that you can do the same thing that the company is doing. The company is actually smart. They're protecting the business, and you need to protect your family, or you need to protect yourself. You should have a ring of defense too. That next ring should be like a retirement account. I use the word retirement account because it's what's familiar with most people. But if you know me, I would much rather have your own bank, become your own banker, creating a whole dividend paying life insurance to mimic what a bank does. And you can have bank, but the retirement account can be anything. It could be a 401k. It could be a Roth IRA or traditional IRA. It can be, something that you're building towards. Now, obviously this is for retirement, but if it hits that ring of defense, you got to do what you got to do. A company isn't going to, they don't want to do layoffs, but if it makes it to that, if it's getting close to your core, you're going to do what you have to do. And really, retirement account could be on the inside ring and instead of the savings. It doesn't, this is more of just a illustration to kind of help you understand, but the order doesn't really matter the way it is portrayed. And then on that outer ring, that first line of defense will be like passive income. So while retirement account savings is interchangeable, if you have enough passive income, you're never going to make it to those rings. And that's how you build a strong defense for you or your family to make sure that if something happens, passive income, it can be, real estate. That's the most lucrative. It could be, like a dividend portfolio. Basically, any asset that you could buy that produces income, that would be your passive income. So that will be your outer ring of defense. And as you're going through these companies, you're not really in competition with the company, but sometimes companies need other companies to build and support each other. So while you're at that business or while you're at that career, just know that at any time the economy could change directions. And it was hard seeing people go. I mean, of course I was worried like everybody else, but I didn't have those same feelings of, knowing that, I knew I would be okay for a while. Most people would probably take a day off and then straight looking at jobs. I could take my time and figure out what I want to do. But, of course, it's the business that's supporting my business. So it would suck to have lose that. And there was a lot of good guys. There was people that were there. It was basically their career. It wasn't just a job. Some of these guys I've known personally for 8-10 years, and they've been at a company 20-30 years plus. So, like I said, I saw it before, but it didn't impact me like this did. And, we've seen a great economy for the last, we had a couple of bumps here, but pretty much for the last decade, there hasn't been any kind of worry to even cross anybody's mind much. So in the times like this, and the times we're living in now, if you don't already have this ring of defense, I would say start building your ring of defense. And really, in a way, passive income is actually part of a ring of offense, offense. So, basically make sure, build that solid foundation, build up these rings around it, and never let it get to your family or get to you. And that way you can ensure that you and your family will be fine during a time of a recession or something like that. So, guys, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell. And if I would appreciate a thumbs up. It helps to grow the channel. It helps to reach more people and get them thinking in a way that they may not have thought about before. Times are changing. It's going to be a different economy, a different, there's a lot of things that we can tell that the winter's coming. And so we need to prepare for it. So let's all make sure that we're prepared and that we provide for our family and ourselves. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.